involved to these folks, but there are a lot of people who say, let manufacturing leave California. And they just fundamentally don't understand that it is the core to our economy, and that in your case, and I appreciate your explanation, in your case you're talking plastics, machinery, all of your transportation, the electricity, the fuel that you consume, the employees that you hire and their families, and so on and so forth. And they just, you can work at Walmart, or you can work in a manufacturing facility and make a real living. I mean, that's...
Well, one of the things about manufacturing is it still has the tendency to let people rise up through the organization. And so while we might bring somebody in for light assembly, which would be a starting position here, if that person shows promise and shows interest and wants to do it, we can move them up through. So in our factory, all of the supervisors originally worked in production when they first started, and then they moved up, and then most of our management positions are held the same way. And this is not unusual. Manufacturing wants to bring these people up because they know what it was like to work on these different types of applications, and they have that depth of experience. And we're willing to train them, and with the training they'll earn more money, and they become able to buy a house, etc. Whereas if you're working in the service industry, you don't have that as much advantage or opportunity to grow within the organization.
Yeah, of course.
Now, one thing about manufacturing in California or anywhere is that we can bring people back quickly to get people working again. We're not limited by just certain numbers of hours of operation. We can work 3 shifts a day. We can work 7 days a week with staggered shifts across that. And therefore, we can bring a lot of people back in any manufacturer in this state. I've toured a lot of manufacturing plants, and I'm on the National Association of Manufacturing Board of Directors, so I get to see a lot of really good locations. Mostly, the manufacturing plants could all be bringing back 20–30% more people than what they have right now, just by having a slight increase to the demand if their demand goes up. And I see the demand rising right now.
That's good news. And is that from people that are replenishing deplete, or are you seeing a new buying trend? What do you see that trend to be?
Yeah, definitely seeing a new strengthening buying trend. Certainly, all of the inventories hit the final bottom. There was nothing left, and as people restocked in this first quarter, it's created some blooms of orders going out. Our first quarter was 20% up over the previous first quarter. Oh. We're also seeing people now are starting to be able to look a little bit into the future. This whole time during the Great Recession, people would only buy what they needed right then.
Right.
Now we're getting orders.
Or less.
Or less, right.
Yeah.
We're getting the orders where they're giving us several months of orders at once. Well, they want to get a better price. How are you going to get a better price? You buy more and schedule it out. Okay, we'll make you a deal, give you a better pricing, but it's good for us is that then our factory is better scheduled going into the future. And we're seeing this coming back a little bit now.
That's good news.
And as I'm speaking to other manufacturers, and when I was at the National Association of Manufacturers board meeting, we went around the room and everybody talked about how their business was doing. And in that group, I think it represented 3 million employees for the CEOs that were in that room. And every one of them basically had the same story like I have. Everything is moving up, things are getting better, the orders are firm, and we all see a general increase, and everybody's holding back on hiring because they're not sure
that it's going to hold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that brings me to a pretty important question. I don't want to let go out of this conversation. There's been a very significant trend in the United States to reduce the industrial arts and to try to track everyone, no matter where they come from or what their mindset is or their skill set, to academia. Are you seeing it as a shortage? Do you see a shortage of really good, well-rounded talent?
For sure. I'm very unhappy with that circumstance. It's very hard to get CNC operators. It's very hard to get people that can work in the machine shop that have good capacity and ability and training. Even in the supply chain management field, there's shortages. And so I feel as though that the people that are unemployed at this time should go to school in trades, because we will be hiring and will always be hiring these type of employees. I know that in the avionics and in aircraft maintenance, the projected shortages are incredible. And so you can get all types of subsidized schooling in those fields right now.
So our public schools, and this has been really frustrating for me, there have even been accusations of racism because, you know, industrial arts were really the place that you put people that were of minority classes. And in fact, people that are unemployed, and people that are going to be mechanically inclined are going to be mechanically inclined regardless of what race they come from. What we're doing is a major disservice to them, and I think by removing that young tactile experience and building the synopsis in the brain, learning the skills that you're looking for, is that something we fundamentally need to do for our public schools as well, or are you looking to, do you believe we should leave them in academia till they get to college level, or I mean, what would you?
I really believe in the idea that especially the mechanically inclined students should have the opportunity both to take the shop classes and these type of hands-on learning classes. And I think the primary role should sit with the community colleges, because they're oriented towards it, they're organized to it, they can attract the right teachers and the people. And I think it's just as important that businesses themselves promote this, like through our mentoring program that we have, and then the cooperation and possibly even some subsidy going to these community colleges that are willing to put these types of training programs into place. The hospitals subsidize the training facilities for the nurses. And so we should, in industry, we should also subsidize this and get employees this way and then bring them in. Maybe the subsidy is that we make an agreement that, yes, we'll take however many students per year as they graduate.
Right.
That's a good way to do that, because then it's a guarantee.
Right.
But I truly believe in it. And those students, after they have their career under their belt and they've worked, they may change careers again, but they will always have that training, and they'll always be able to fall back on that.
Yeah, I like to say the MacGyver skills never leave you. They go wherever you go. It's like a toolbox in your pocket.
Well, I'm a product of that. Yeah. I mean, I went to trade schools when I was young, welding, machine shop, engineering classes, and for measurement, metrology, and all these different types of training skills. I've used them my whole life.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I took jewelry, wood shop, you know, advanced cabinet making, and then moved into being a master goldsmith, and now I'm an executive in a technology company. Who would have thought? But frankly, it does carry forward, and it helps me to be able to understand and working with the technology and the mechanics and people and the different skill sets and so on and so forth.
The Explorer Scouts are doing a good job in this area too, of training relative to skill sets that are associated with, you know, like becoming a fireman or a policeman, and giving the kids an opportunity to learn. I was in the Explorer Scouts when I was young, and I use my things I learned in Explorer Scouts I use today every day